So I've actually got a little visual for us because maybe some of us haven't heard of Elemental before. This is actually a concept art book that belongs to one of our other artists here. But those are the two main characters in Elemental. This water guy is Wade on that side, and the fire girl is Ember. So today we're actually going to be drawing Ember. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on Ember. She's actually going to start off here with an oval. Think kind of like a potato shape. You want this oval to be resting on its side here. And make sure you're leaving a good amount of space above your oval shape, because of course we're going to add in her hair, which is going to be those flames. So I'm starting off just really nice and light and loose here, adding in a couple of oval shapes myself just so I can choose my favorite. And then we're going to add in some guidelines here. I'm going to cut this basically in half here. And then my horizontal guidelines actually are going to look more like a stretched out letter U shape. So I'm going to carve into this shape here with this very swoopy letter U. All right, once you've got this is our basic foundation here for Ember. I'm going to start off here by actually adding in that flame shape. Now you don't have to follow exactly how I'm drawing this in. Really, you just want to think kind of like fiery, right? And it actually really matches her personality. I don't know too much about the movie yet, but if anyone's seen any of the trailers, you can kind of tell she's got a little bit of like sass to her. She's kind of like, they even describe her as a very fiery character, no pun intended. So just think, you know, kind of flame-like, and actually in contrast to Wade, if you think about water, it's kind of very like go with the flow, and so he's got lots of round shapes, whereas Ember actually has a couple more pointier or sharper features. So you don't have to make everything super fluid. It can be a little bit blockier, and it'll still be okay. And I'm gonna add in about, I'd say 3 like main flame shapes, with the middle one being the longest one. I'll make this middle one here the tallest. Hopefully I still have enough space on my paper. But again, you don't have to follow it exactly how I'm doing it. I'm just making very messy, sketchy lines here for myself. And then this one here on the right, I like to add it almost like it's a little bang, or it's got a little bit of a different shape here. It's gonna curl into itself. So I'll flatten out this top part here and add in kind of like a little candy cane or hook shape here for this one on the right. And then it kind of just blends in with the rest of her face shape here once I get to my oval. Now once you've got that basic outline here, I'm going to go back to the bottom part of my oval shape here and add in the rest of her silhouette. So I'm going to add in her neck here, just a little bit off center, a little bit more here to the left, like I'm making a little vase shape. And then she's pretty petite. And actually, I don't think I showed you another picture here we have of Ember. But you can see she's got like a pretty petite shape here. So you want to keep that nice and kind of smaller. She doesn't have super broad shoulders. And then in that picture as well, her outfit that she typically wears is kind of like this leather crop top and skirt combo. So I'm going to add in this top collar of her top here, just by making like 2 halves of a heart and adding in a little letter V shape here at the bottom. And then to give her that little like leather vest look, I'll add in these 2 lines going down like a number 11. Now once you've got all this in place here, you can go ahead and start to lock in some of these shapes. Now I haven't explained locking in yet. If you haven't been here before, that's okay. Locking in just means going back over your shapes and really darkening in the lines that you want to keep. And everything else should just stay light so that it starts to fade away into the background. So I can lock in my collar here, and I'll lock in the sides of my vest. And she also has kind of this crisscross pattern here on this vest. So I'm just going to add in some diagonal lines crossing each other here. And I like to just shade in kind of that background of her collar, but that's just like an extra credit step. Now that we've got her silhouette here in place, we want to go ahead and just lock in the rest of her head shape here. So I'm going to go back and just connect the beginning of her flames here on the left to the rest of my oval, and the same thing here on the right side. I'm just going to connect all the rest of her head shape together. And then you can go back in and start to really lock in those flames. And this is a perfect time too where you can keep adjusting her flames. So if you don't like how some of them looks, you can always just keep changing it, because we haven't quite made anything permanent in that drawing yet. How are we doing out there so far though? I'd say we're probably about halfway, maybe even a little past. Stunned silence by how amazed we are at our flame work. Yes, I love it. Well, don't worry, like I said, we haven't even gotten to the really main part of Ember, which is her facial expression, her eyes. I'm going to go back here and just start to lock in these shapes, but I'll tell you a little bit about Elemental. I'm really personally excited about the film because it is going to be Pixar's first rom-com. I'm a big rom-com fan. They took a lot of inspiration actually from Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Moonstruck, You've Got Mail, like who's one Tom Hanks, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So I'm really interested. And also, there's going to be a lot about, kind of like a big metaphor about different cultures. And the director of this film, does anyone actually know who that is? Peter Sohn. He actually directed maybe some other films you've heard of. He directed The Good Dinosaur, which was a Pixar film. He also directed the Pixar short Partly Cloudy. He even did some voice acting work. So if anyone saw Lightyear, which recently came out, he actually voices Socks, who's the little orange robot cat. And he also voices Emil, who is Remy's rat brother. Yeah, so he's familiar in other senses, but this is a director, or a film directed by Peter Sohn, and it has a lot of influence from his own personal life, where his family immigrated from Korea and moved to New York. And so kind of similarly, Ember actually has her own family shop where they own a vegetable store, and Ember is trying to figure out what it is that she wants in life. And her family is kind of putting this pressure on her to continue with their family legacy of owning that shop, but she wants to find her own path. And kind of similar to Peter Sohn's own life, where he was trying to pave his own way as well in an entirely new country. Now I've got her outline here all nice and darkened in, so we're going to go ahead and add in her facial expressions here. I'm going to start off where my vertical guideline and horizontal guideline intersect here and add in a little mountain peak for her nose. Now again, to go with kind of that fiery look, we want to give her a little bit of a side smirk here. So on this bottom half, I'm just going to stretch out a letter U curve that's a little bit higher here on the left side than on the right. I'll go back in and just darken all those lines in. And then for her eye shape here, we want to add in these rainbow curves here right on either side of her nose, and they're going to rest there on that horizontal guideline. So I'd say they're kind of wider rainbows than they are taller. They almost go out to that entire side of her head shape here. And she's got a lot of edge to her, so she's actually got even a little bit of cat eye or a little winged eyeliner here. Now don't be afraid to add in a little bit more and thicken up her eyeliner as you go. And a nice thing too is you can always kind of fix it up. Like in real life, I just keep adding it and adding it if it looks uneven on either side. And that's why I have to keep going to Sephora and spending over $100. That's okay. Not even joking, I totally did that today. But once you've got in these eye shapes here, we can add in her pupils to really wake her up. Now her pupils are actually kind of like floating in her eye, I want to say. So you can have her looking whatever direction you want. I like to have her looking a little bit off to the side, as if maybe Wade is standing right next to her. So I'm going to put them here on the left, on this right side of her eye shape here. And you just want to make sure that your pupils are really nice and dark because you want these to stand out. And now, last features we really need here, we're going to add in her eyebrows. Now to go with her look here, I'm going to add in her eyebrows kind of like questioning Wade a little bit. So I'm going to have this one here on the left, kind of like a stretched out letter U shape, right above her eye. And then the one on the right is going to be a little bit arched. And then I'll go back in here and just thicken up my shapes here so she's not stuck in the early 2000s. Unless you want her to be like that, totally up to you. But I'll thicken this up here. And then your last couple steps here really, if you want to add in some of that extra credit, we like to shade her in a little bit because she is made out of flames. So we want to show a little bit of that contrast where that outer part of her head shape here, and I'm just going to use the edge of my pencil here, is a little bit darker. If you think about fire, the middle part of the flame is kind of that lightest part. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of shading here on the outer edges of her flames. And with that, that's really all the last steps here that you need for your own sketch of our very new character, Ember. The last and most important step, though, of any artist drawing is, of course, an artist's signature. So make sure that once you've added in all your details, you include the most important step and sign your name. Nice and proud, because we did it. We haven't even seen the movie, and we've already drawn a character from it. Well, in the end, how did we do? How about this? Did we have a fun time? Yes. Are we excited about watching Elemental? Yes. All right. Well, I'd love to see everyone's embers. So on the count of 3, let's flip our boards around and have an art show. 1, 2, 3. Ember. These are great. I love our flame shapes over here, and nice job on those shading details too. Great job on this side as well. I love her expressions. I'm like feeling that fierceness from her. Great line work over here. Of course, amazing job on this side. Oh, amazing line work up here in the front. And results a huge round of applause. I have to say, these drawings are on fire. You all graduate from the Animation Academy. So you're welcome to come and join us again for another class. We don't see you though.